There was a shivering, lonely woman named Sarah who dwelled in her big, noisy, creaky house in the village known as Ravenwood. She sat alone in bed, reading a book on an ashen night which the wind was blowing and the sound of rain could be heard on the windows. It was already dark, and she was dozing off when she heard a faint knocking at the door. Trying to pay no attention to it at first, the tapping grew louder and more forceful. This seemed as if it was coming from down the stairs. It's beating violently in her chest. She picked up a flashlight and proceeded down the corridor that was as black as pitch. The knocking continued to sound, and with it there was now a whispering. She had a heavy breath and stepped onto the foot of the stairs. She realized the entrance door was slightly opened. "Hello," she said softly. "Who is it?" "It's only me," came the reply, but not a sound. Bracing herself, Sarah opens the door and illuminates the dark area with the flashlight. It grew even louder, and when I went outside to look at the porch, I found that everyone had left, yet the murmuring went on. It was biting cold as she closed the door with a bang. She turned around in time to see a figure of some sort. "You should not have opened the door," the figure said to her softly, and a shiver went through her frame. Sarah immediately screamed, "Run to the stairs and go upstairs," locking herself in the room. She called the police. By the time they came, the burglar had not even left them with anything to catch him with. However, as they moved out from the house, a cop that walked behind them said one thing to Sarah that made her get goose pimples. "Madam, are you quite sure you were on your own?" The ancestries say that there are muddy footsteps that lead to the basement. Lily's grandma passed away recently, and she received from her a beautiful yet an eerie antique doll. Lily, however, found herself an odd liking for the doll due to its glassy eyes and broken porcelain face. She decided to take it home. She placed it in a shelf in the room, thinking it would not harm anyone. Lily was once sleeping one day when she suddenly woke up to the sound of somebody quietly giggling. Yawning and rubbing her eyes, she woke up to a new day, and despite a slight headache, decided to have a look at the room and found nothing unusual. She endeavored to pull the blanket over her head once more and fell back asleep, only to be jolted awake by a gentle knock. She came into a sitting position and realized that the doll was not on the shelf anymore. It was now on the floor stationary, looking directly at her bed. Lily put the doll back on the shelf and recovered sleep, thinking it had been all in her mind. It went on for many nights, the disruptions. The doll could move around the room, and the next morning Lily would wake up and find the doll in some rather disturbing poses. Any girl would or could be scared to death when she wakes up in the middle of the night and finds the doll looking at her in the face, especially in the terrible night that Lily witnessed the evil doll sitting on her chest with its eyes open, lifeless yet terrifying. Froze up with terror, she can only watch and listen as its small mouth opened. Every time he returned home in the evening, it mumbled, "You forgot me, but I remember you." Lily threw the toy on the floor and ran towards her parents. A search was conducted in her room, only to find that there was nothing unusual. That morning, Lily's mother tells her a spine-chilling family story. "That doll was made in the image of my sister who passed on when she was your age. She was never mourned properly." Michael was a lover of art, and he used to go to estate sales in order to look for items that are unique. One day, there was an estate sale, and he found an old artwork of painting that was hidden in the corner of the room. Lastly, the picture painted the reality whereby the highlight of the scenery with a linear character and a silhouette of a human being in the far-off horizon. It was spooky and beautiful, and he purchased it and brought it home with him. He put the work in his living room, and after some days he realized a certain something out of the ordinary. The figure that is portrayed in the piece seemed to come nearer each time the man looked at it. He first dismissed it as a joke and failed to give much attention to it, but as it drew nearer he could see the figure well. One evening he thought to capture the changes on camera. Every picture he took, demonstrated that the individual was being positioned socially nearer to the foreground. Michael, getting rather anxious, then tried to take the artwork down the wall, but it seems to decline to be taken down. However, the element of mystery was unresolved, so he researched and found out that the painting was made by a mental man who vanished right after creating the painting. It is said that the painting was to be cursed, and the lip figure shown in the painting is said to represent the artist's soul that was to be brought close to any person who possessed it. The last shot also depicted that the figure was very close to the last point of the painting. That night, and for every night since, Michael was startled to wake up to find the picture all empties. There was the dark figure which was now standing at the foot of the bed that belonged to Jeff. Before he could answer, the figure stepped closer and said in a low voice, "You've made me alive." The next morning, Michael was found to be absent, that together with a figure added to the painting, was hung on his wall